Good day, everyone. This session would enable us to be oriented on the different activities that is expected in personal identification techniques. So yours truly is your professor in this class, Dr. Jonna B. Badwa, and I am so glad to meet you all. So for you to be guided as to the activities that we will be having for the duration of the whole semester, I came up with a summary of activities, and it consists of the different weeks provided, and at the same time, the topic learning outcomes and the different activities. Okay, for week 1 to 2, it is very important that we have to consider a preliminary, and this is part of module 1, of which it focus on personal identification and criminal investigation. So it enables you to define personal identification techniques and at the same time the word criminal investigation. So along with this, you will enable yourself to discuss the importance of personal identification to criminal investigation. So activities are also provided in your module that you will be required to define terms as required also in the outcomes, and then the conduct of video content analysis that you will come up with. We will be having a film viewing, and you could just click on the link as provided in your module for you to have a browse on the video that was stated. And along with that, after coming up with that video, after having a browse on that, you will be conducting a focus group discussion with your groups. So of which it would now develop your uh, sense of belongingness, at the same time your communication skills with each other. So teamwork is given emphasis. So these are some of the activities that are provided for your module 1. Okay, for week 3 to 7, we will now be going to module 2 upon complying with all the requirements in module 1. So in here, it is entitled Personal Identification Techniques and its Procedures. So at the end of the topic, the students shall be able to identify significant features of the different personal identification techniques, and discuss the procedures of the given personal identification techniques, and at the same time have a demonstration and some of the PI techniques of which it is applicable. So this particular module has a wider coverage compared to the module 1. And along with module 2, the activities provided will be a question and answer through Edpuzzle. So I will be coming up with a certain activity for you in the edpuzzle.com for you to read, and at the same time a certain question will be provided and you need to answer. So aside from that, e-reading with oral defense recitation. I will let you read some article online, and then you have to make some okay, you will be making such presentation and I will be asking such question. So aside from that is a group research activity and the different personal identification techniques, so that you will be more acquainted on the concepts and the different procedures of the PI technique. So you will be having your own responsibility to deal with, and you will be working again as a group. Okay, aside from that, we will come up with the forensic science class forum. So whatever things that you happen to find out in your group research will be presented. Okay, so that will again be credited as your group presentation activity. And aside from that, a quiz will also be given through quizzes.com so that it will become more challenging. Okay, so before taking such quiz, you have to make sure that you are prepared. So you have to keep on reading your lessons. So module 1 and module 2 is included in your prelim. So after that, after finishing these modules, you will now be ready to take your prelim examination. Is that okay? So for week 8 to 10, we will now be moving on with module 3, which is titled as dactyloscopy. So at the end of the topic, the students shall be able to describe and identify the different fingerprint patterns, and you will be able to identify the core and the delta, and of course the demonstration and the lifting of a particular Latin prints, and at the same time the recording process for fingerprints of a living person. So these are the different topics that will be under module 3. So for your activities, you will watch the video demonstration on the recording of fingerprints and the taking of accidental or chance impressions. So if you want to browse, you can have the YouTube channel of mine and then relate to class what you have learned. So in number 2, you will also be creating a video. Okay, you have to describe the different fingerprint patterns and discuss the rules in locating the core and the delta. So make sure that in coming up with your video, it is clear and you will be properly dressed up. Okay, then number 3, it's a matter of creating a blog of which you are going to demonstrate the lifting of Latin prints and recording of fingerprints. Anyway, I will be coming up with a video demonstration for you to follow so that you will be properly guided. And lastly, you will again come up with a quiz in the quizzes.com. So name the fingerprint pattern challenge through quizzes.com. And one thing more that we will be having in this particular week is that we will have an online quiz bee. So winners will be given surprises and additional points for their grade. So you have to review and make sure that you have to read all the details so that once you will be asked of a question, you can just answer it in just an instant time. So that would become challenging and exciting for everybody. Okay, so for week 11 to 13, we will be focusing now on module 4. So of which it talked about the Henry system classification. And this Henry system classification has several divisions. And what is important in here is you have to familiarize yourself on the different rules and principles. So at the end of this topic, the student shall be able to identify the rules on Henry system classification and apply the Henry system classification formula. So we will be having a lot of activities here. So you have to be acquainted with the different rules so that you will not be at loss. Okay. So for the activities, again, quizzes.com will be used and I'll be giving a time quiz. So have a screenshot of your score and upload in the Canvas. So this is how we are going to have our quiz. It's more fun with quizzes, okay? So in number 2, you will be required to classify the set of fingerprint patterns using the Henry system classification formula. We all know that fingerprints are not the same. It has its own patterns. And number 3, you will be giving also the reads count of a fingerprint pattern. So there are rules again to consider for you to count the ridges on your finger. So it is if you happen to uh, hear this in the first time, I know that you would probably say it's difficult, but I will teach you the rules so that uh, you will not have that difficulty, and I know for sure you will enjoy. So you will be expecting some difficulties, but let us just enjoy the learning process in this subject. Okay, in number 4, you will be giving also the reeds tracing. So whether it is inner, knitting, or outer. So again, we will consider some rules to follow for you to for you to give a correct tracing for a particular fingerprint pattern. And of course, lastly, is the blockings of fingerprints. So instead of indicating the full name in the fingerprint pattern, you will then be required to use the blockings. Okay, is that clear? So after all these topics under this module, you will now be ready to have your midterm exam. So we are almost there, right? So just try your best to learn. Do not complain, but you must have that eagerness to learn. So for week 14 to 15, we will be dealing with module 5, of which it is the automated fingerprint identification system, or the so-called AFIS. So at the end of this topic, the students shall be able to identify the processes in automated fingerprint identification. So this is a database. So even though we do not have this kind of equipment in school, but what we can do for us to learn, we will be coming up with a video film. We'll come up with a film viewing. I will be giving you some link for you to take a look about the AFIS and how it is being operated. And in number two, justify the effectiveness of AFIS in establishing the identity of a person. So for your activity, you will show a video about AFIS. So you will just be browsing on the YouTube, on the internet, for you to share videos about AFIS, and of which this would be your basis for you to have learnings, so engagement as to the operation of AFIS. Okay, number two, required students to have a case reading. So involving the use of AFIS. So what could then be the different cases wherein AFIS had been used? Okay, so you will also be creating a video discussion describing the processes that can be done through AFIS. So what are the different processes in AFIS? You come up with an essay entitled The Relevance of AFIS in Criminal Investigation. So there's a lot of activities that you will enjoy. Don't find it too difficult, but it's part of learning. There's no pain, no gain, isn't it? So just continue to have that eagerness to learn, as just like what I made mention a while back. So for week 16 to 18, it will now uh, we will now be going to module 6, of which it pertains to the value of fingerprint evidence in the court of law. So we know that fingerprints are the common evidence that is being presented in the court. Okay, so at the end of this topic, the students shall be able to digest a criminal case where fingerprint evidence had been used. So you have to have further reading about criminal cases. And in there, you will learn that fingerprint is very essential in the administration of justice, of which it also aids the investigator to come up with a lead or a solution to such case, isn't it? And number two, we have construct a fingerprint comparison chart. I know this is also difficult. I would just like to give emphasis that everything in here is difficult. But if you have, if you are determined to learn, if you have that patience, if you commit yourself to excellence, then there is no such thing as difficult in learning. Okay? So anyway, I will be teaching you on how to do this. We will be applying the different methods and coming up with a comparison chart. So aside from that, you will then be required to examine a fingerprint and defend the fingerprint comparison chart. So we will come up with a mock court, okay, for you to have an experience on how to present fingerprint evidence in court. So in your activity, you will be having an e-case reading on jurisprudence and uh, digest it. Digest a criminal case where fingerprint evidence had been used, and then you come up with a fingerprint comparison chart. Yan. So mock court will also be undertaken in class, of which there is the demonstration and the presentation of fingerprint evidence. So all of these things are expected in this subject personal identification. So until such time, you will now come to an end to have your final exam. So these are the activities for you to consider and be aware of so that you will be properly guided and prepare for every meetings that we have. So if you have some queries or some clarifications, just message me in the Canvas. Okay, and please, I encourage you to attend the online class from time to time and just stand by at home. Do not go anywhere else to have your class. So have focus because this is the new normal way of learning and we have to embrace. So please do not be left behind. So till next meeting, see you everyone and have a nice day. This is your professor, Dr. John Abadwa, signing off.